So, hi everyone. My name is Anton, and you probably remember me from the past summit that we've had in Barcelona. And also, you might remember me from texting you and calling you and doing all the work all the time on the phone. So, yes, that's me. Hi there. Allow me to introduce my guest today because we have a wonderful podcast, and we actually had this wonderful opportunity with one of the, if not the best lawyers of the crypto industry, and for me, in my personal opinion, one of the coolest advisors. And coming back from the questions that we had from our participants and our customers, they've been throwing a lot of legal questions. Questions regarding the jurisdictions, questions regarding the lawyers, questions regarding why do we need it. So I decided, to connect with one of the best lawyers in this industry just to find out, some of the questions that we have. So please, I'll just introduce our guest. This is Yanina, and she's wonderful, just wonderful. By what I mean is that I have a list here of all the things that she's done and accomplished and her milestones, and that's just crazy because I wouldn't even I wasn't being able to memorize it everything because it was crazy. Like I was just reading and it was like, oh my god, when is it gonna finish? And it's like it's just one person that does it. Like, can you imagine, guys? So like just listen carefully, because this is not a joke at all. So Miss Yanina Petrovskaya, speaker at the Blockchain Leadership Summit, Blockchain and Bitcoin Conference, partner and speaker of the Supplementary Education Program, which is Blockchain Lawyers, member of the Capital Market and Technology Association, member of the STO Working Group from the Crypto Valley Association, member of the Global Legal Blockchain Consortium. Oh my God, and we're just starting. And then she's also the co-author of Program for Blockchain Regulatory Issues on Crypto Radio, Satoshi.fm. Guys, I can be I can be going and going with it, but we got a time limit. I can't be taking so much time from Yanina. So please, for now, I'll just keep quiet and let you at least introduce yourself to say hi. So pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, Anton, too. I'm really humbled about you reading all my achievements and memberships. That sounds great when someone introduces you as a person with so many achievements and memberships. Yeah, we are LP lawyers based mainly in Liechtenstein. We've been consulting blockchain projects mainly and various IT startups for the past 3 years because we've been founded mainly as tax law boutique. But then when Switzerland and Liechtenstein got really popular for all the blockchain and also other IT issues, we started getting requests from our current clients and from new clients, and that's how we jumped in. And then a couple of years ago, we started joining the wonderful, amazing blockchain summit by InnMind
Right.
to develop our expertise and also to develop our network. And yeah, we've done a lot of various IT and blockchain projects, and of course have, I would say, sort of expertise for the questions that you sent me already in advance.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it makes sense to list a lot of our projects that we've done, but I would like to mention a couple because for a lot of people who don't know, Switzerland and Liechtenstein are one of the best places to do blockchain projects for now because of their legislation. Switzerland has done wonderful work with all the regulatory guidelines and due-dilligence law for data security that they introduced recently. Liechtenstein has introduced and has already enforced the Liechtenstein Blockchain Act. If needed, I think we could publish all the links to our materials so that everyone could read afterwards.
Perfect.
Because yeah, it's really a lot of things to read. We've done nice summaries, but there are still some 3-4 pages long. Yeah, and we would start maybe with the first question that you sent me regarding the due diligence of startups.
Absolutely correct.
Because no matter if it's a blockchain or a general IT project or any project involving technology, Switzerland and Liechtenstein are one of the best jurisdictions to do so. Not the cheapest ones, of course. I would say they're rather more suitable for advanced stage startups. Regarding the due diligence and involvement of lawyers into your startup, to be honest, in the very beginning, when you start doing things at the seed round or pre-seed, sometimes it doesn't make sense to involve, let's say, expensive lawyers, large law firms, way too expensive for startups. And what we do with some of the startups, and we recommend, and a lot of startups do so. Normally, at the early stage, they involve either individual practitioners or smaller law firms, just some sort of inside counsel,
Right.
which do the legal work. To put it in very direct, cheaper. Yeah. And again, instead, what we do, for example, for the startups that we work with, we take part, we do some fixed payments, normally somehow lower than the market. And then we may take equity or may take also percentage from the fundraising round, which is also okay. Of course, we don't do it for like every startup.
Yeah.
Our own due diligence, the same as InnMind does for the project that we take. We really try to be selective because otherwise we wouldn't be able to help everyone. Everyone prefers to support a project that already has certain history, traction, motivated founders, some funding. So of course we do it that way, and that's fair.
Okay.
That's about involving lawyers in the very beginning. It is recommended to have a legal advice, at least a short one, in the very beginning, because there are several issues which are important from the very beginning and which will be due diligence. The due diligence which will be done afterwards when certain investors join you at various rounds.
Okay.
Invest into your project in various rounds. So one of the first thing is how you let's say slice the pie, how you divide the shares in the company. That is really important that you include founders and also some of the staff if you have some, and you see that they have the proportion that they have is adequate and allows the persons to influence the company in a certain way. And normally that's also, it's really quite an abstract thing which I'm talking right now, but like for example, it is not really recommended that both of the founders, if there are two of them, have all like 50%, because in a deadlock situation, when they cannot make any solution, when they cannot make any decision, if the company actually gets blocked, they are not able to change the director and the CEO of the company. So it's really advisable to, you could find a lot of the information in the internet, or you could just go and find an affordable advisor for you to see how you should co-found the company in the very beginning, to slice the pie in the correct way in regard to your situation. Also in the very beginning, maybe when you already invest some IP in the company, I don't know, it might be computer code, something that you invented already within the company, or bringing to the company certain assets, it might be already advisable that you have some sort of shareholders agreement. You might take some of the forms that you find on the internet. They're okay, they could work, but please mind that they reflect the situation that you have.
Exactly. Yes.
Because they could be okay for you, they could work for you, but just try to reflect all the factual circumstances, your own situation with the founders that you have. And yes, then if you have a certain draft already prepared with all the factual situation described in details there, then you could ask the lawyer also to review it, to think, to see whether it's going to work this way. You have written it in a deadlock situation, in a worst case scenario, because all those shareholders agreement, they are of course meant for the to provide some sort of checks and balances,
right,
and to protect both creditors, investors, and founders in a worst case scenario, in a deadlock situation where you're not able to make any decisions in the company, where you would like to liquidate or someone wouldn't like to liquidate it. So that's what shareholders agreement are for.
Okay. Okay.
The next thing, and it is really important, is IP. What is IP? Please also, when certain people work for you, it is really advisable that there might be other co-founders. It is really advisable that you have contracts, for example, for certain IP. The rights either belong to the company or still belong to the founders. And the company, for example, has an exclusive license for using them. So it also really depends on the situation and the sort of IP that you are going to have. And of course, in the very beginning, to understand how is it going to work, you might do some Google research.
Okay.
Try to describe every single circumstances of the situation of the IP that you have. And also get an advice, because you might also find some forms on the internet for a license agreement. But then if you take a standard one, which doesn't reflect your situation and your own circumstances, again, it might be useless, both in a worst case scenario and for a due diligence.
Right. So when we talk about due diligence as in such, we don't actually portray this type of image. We're just thinking about, well, the legal part of it and just the lawyers in general in the company is something simple. Maybe in case of an urgent situation, in case of a force majeure situation, or like a deadlock position, this is when you need them. But in fact, like, you're opening, like a curtain, explaining that in reality it's everywhere. In reality it's a constant work of lawyers that also, advise in the company and work constantly, to prevent, not only to fix, once something is happening, but also to prevent it. So that's I think a very important.
I could compare lawyers work with two other professions or two other things. One is insurance.
Right.
Because what lawyers do, we try to identify what are the major risks of the company. What is the probability that they could be realized?
Right.
And then we could advise how to cover them with legal methods, if any legal methods are available, or then any insurances or any other actions can help you to lower this risk.
All right.
This risk.
Okay.
That's what we do. And it's similar situation with insurance. You need it only when something happens. If you didn't have it before, one company is not going to cover your cost.
True.
Similar. And it's also similar, I would say, with maybe the office in our house. We have to do a lot of actions like doing sports, eating, sleeping enough. It sounds boring, and it really is maintaining all this everyday routine.
Yeah.
But then if you do this everyday routine at the age of 30 or 35, you really lower the risk that you're going to die at the age of 60.
Right.
Or 70. And you high the probability that at the age of 70 you still would be healthy and working and doing great stuff, instead of having all sort of diseases that people might have for this age and not having the quality of the life that you actually want. So a lot of things in this life which have to be done in advance before something happens.
Right.
Just to prevent this worst case scenario, and it's the same with legal stuff.
Okay. Right.
And one more thing.
Sure.
In a worst case scenario, when something really happens, it's going to cost you normally. I haven't done any research on that, and I should look for this one. But in my opinion, doing something in a worst case scenario, if you didn't really hear about all the documents of your company, of shareholders, etc., and don't have anything, would cost you way more than to do the documents with some affordable advices in advance.
Now this is
that's my
this is interesting,
that's personal,
right?
my own internal statistics. I would say.
All right. Okay. Now this is getting tricky because I mean the next question, as you remember, actually follows, like it kind of has a similar thing to what you've commented before, and it's regarding the functioning of companies in, I mean, in Europe Union in general, and like opening the accounts of the companies. Why is it such a thing? Why not just being okay, like maybe I shall be a distributor, or I shall just like a contact distributor and then let him represent me outside there. Why is it essential for a company to actually, especially for crypto and blockchain industry, we're specifically focusing on that. For example, Russian companies or companies from CIS, they have a lot of difficulties on coming towards European, Union region, and then opening up their, company, registering their company and opening an account there. Do they really need it? Is it that important? That's my question.
Well, opening a company in a certain region, in a certain country, depends on if you are going to really work on that market.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, before you enter the market, you do proper market research, or at least you should do, because if you don't do it, you're going to invest the time and money of yourself and your team, just throwing it away in the hope that you are going to conquer the market.
Correct.
But without the proper market research, it's not. I mean, it's common sense for business people, but sometimes, of course, startup people oversee that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. And of course, if you are going to target investors in the European Union, then essentially you would need a company somewhere
Mm-hmm.
in the European Union. And then, if you're going to target customers and maybe also investors from the European Union, that would require you to be in the European Union. It is similar with Asia, though Asian investors invest a lot also in the European companies. It is similar with the US, because the US investors and VC funds mostly prefer to invest in US entities.
Mm-hmm.
In regard to investors, it is related to the fact that if investors live in a certain area, in certain countries, they do understand how rules, how laws and taxes work.
Mm-hmm.
And they have certain trust in this system.
All right.
So and that's why they need an entity, let's say, I don't know, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, any other European countries. It works more or less similar. In case of a worst case scenario, mostly an investor can get a decent protection in court.
Okay. Right.
Compared to some other countries where the legal system is not that stable, doesn't enjoy trust of the investors.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the major reasons why they need it. If you have customers, if you have investors, why they have difficulties opening companies and especially bank accounts. I wouldn't say opening a company is not such a big deal. Preparing the documents, the foundation documents, the articles of association, writing it down. It's not a big deal. It could be a big deal if you have already investors on board and they would like to have their major rights reflected in those documents. Then it would take a couple of weeks longer before you agree on all these documents. But just opening a company itself, it could take, unfortunately, not really 1-2 days. Well, in countries like Estonia, it could be a couple of days. In some other countries, it could be 1-2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But still, it's really not that serious. The most difficult thing is opening bank accounts, standard bank accounts with having banking licenses. I'm not talking about payment systems right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the past 10, 15 years, all the, I would say, regulators all over the world and also in Europe they implemented a lot of regulation in regard to anti-money laundering.
Mm-hmm.
So that people from other countries do not bring their money to Europe without paying taxes or money with some unknown sources, like human trafficking, prostitution, etc.
Right.
Or even corruption. I mean,
mm-hmm.
Just if certain people have 500 positions as authorities in other countries, and then they bring the millions and millions to for instance, London.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, it didn't raise any question. No, it did maybe a little, but still people were able to do so. And then in the past 10 years, it changed a lot. And the key word is compliance.
Right.
All the compliance departments, which we work closely with, we work with around 15 banks in Switzerland and Liechtenstein that work with the blockchain project, and we work with a lot of other banks that, for example, open accounts for holding companies in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. In this 5-7 years, the compliance departments grew enormously. Like the compliance departments are right now almost the biggest departments in the bank. And the thing is also that in a lot of those traditional banks, compliance work is not really optimized. A lot of things are done manually, and that's why it takes so long. I know how it works because I've been a head of compliance in a fund management company myself. All those things are done manually by people just by sending emails back and forth. It's not like having a data room where you put all the stuff and then the compliance can look at it, but it's just sending emails during a couple of months back and forth. And first of all, it's justified by the requirements of the regulator, by the legal requirements. But on the other thing, it needs to be automated, and that's what a lot of payment solution companies, payment systems like Revolut and others do. Because all this ordinary compliance is done there partly by automatically by artificial intelligence, and some of the operations, like high risk stuff, is normally checked additionally by people, but not like every single thing.
Okay.
And to mention high risk, people having passports of CIS countries normally fall under this high risk in terms of compliance. And high risk means that the compliance department has to check more and has to ask more documents to prove that you have a normal business, to prove that you have an understandable source of money, and to prove that you yourself are not engaged with any activities with any corrupt politically exposed persons. Yes, and also working with crypto, it's also high risk in terms of compliance. Because in the past there used to be a lot of ICOs and a lot of exchanges that didn't have proper QIC and AML.
And they don't have a really good reputation. This market, after all, really, suffered from those type of companies. Yeah,
and that's why the banks, when they do onboard those crypto projects, they have also to do technical due diligence to trace those cryptocurrencies back to understand where they come from, that they come from a legitimate source and not, let's say, from Venezuela.
Okay, right. So you're actually getting closer to my final question to you, and it's regarding the developing countries in general, and the projects, the crypto or blockchain or AI projects, that arise from them. There is a really controversial dialogue between whether you should invest in those type of projects coming from developing countries, and what are the legal risks of of being, for example, you as an investor actually putting your money in that project. Where is that type of balance between safe investment? Let's assume that the project is is good, the project is really potential, but then on the legal side, how do you operate with that? Where is that balance that we should look for?
So the thing is, I'm a lawyer. I don't give any investment advice, but I may answer this question from a common sense perspective, because nowadays I think everyone should read some books about economics, how world economics work in general. And normally for the investors, they have to diversify their investments, and they have to have various baskets where they put their investments. And it is advised normally that up to 70 or 80% depending on your risk appetite. You put in some conservative instruments like real estate, maybe capital market, but some traditional investments
Mm-hmm.
which give you lower income, but instead higher stability of the investment.
Okay.
And then from 10 to 30%, this is also the general rule by all the investment advisors. 10 to 30%, depending on your risk appetite, you might invest in certain activities, businesses, securities, etc., which can give you higher profitability,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time high risk.
Right.
High risk to lose everything, and that's why normally people don't invest all their money in these high risk instruments. For instance, like crypto, because it goes up and down all the time. The volatility is enormous. No one really knows where it's gonna go the next day, or even on the same day. No one can really predict how Bitcoin is going to move. Um, and the thing is, with developing countries, that we do not really have stable economy.
Mm-hmm.
And this means that on these new emerging markets, mostly you are able to make high profits within a short period of time, but at the same time you have a high risk of losing everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why investors normally pay, like investment companies, family offices, VC funds, they invest in those countries and in the projects which run in those countries, uh, but try to diversify to, to save the investors' money. But of course, you have to take a certain risk, and especially hedge funds and VC funds, they have all the teams of people who do all the difficult analysis
Mm-hmm.
to understand where certain countries and certain industries within a country are going to move, and then they make the investment. And still, they make failures. They cannot guarantee you that, because the world changes so much nowadays. From a legal perspective, also in a lot of developing countries, the legal system itself doesn't work that well as it works, for example, in most of the European countries or also in the US. And that is also part of the risk for the investor. That's called overall word for this is investment climate.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this investment climate is legal system, protection of investors' rights.
Okay.
What would happen in the worst case scenario? Let's say you invested, I don't know, in a factory in Russia,
Mm-hmm.
and from the point of view of international law and national law, it should be protected as investors from certain things from states. Let's say nationalizing your factory.
Mm-hmm.
But then we see that in some of the developing countries, state actually does so.
Mm-hmm.
They attract investors, but then they introduce new taxes, new fees, some new playing rules, which is of course in contradiction with what they promised before. But a lot of states do so actually, and investors just try, to use certain conditions which are there right now.
Okay. Yeah.
And then if things go worse, they just exit from the project. That's why a lot of projects, by the way, a lot of international investors made an exit, I would say, starting from 2014 when the sanctions against Russia was because at that time I was advising a lot of German-speaking clients investing in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they all have to sort of make this exit because the situation was unpredictable.
All right. All right. Well, then I won't be taking much of your time because I know that you've got a meeting next coming up. So the most important thing is, thank you for your time, and thank you for, giving those some insights, that we really wanted to know, and some of the clients that we had also wanted to know. So thank you for addressing those questions, and thank you for raising the awareness in general, because it was wonderful to hear this type of feedback from such an expert, and especially it was wonderful to see you. So I'm not going to take much of your time anymore, so I just wish you a wonderful evening, and thank you one more time for joining us.
Anton, thank you a lot. Was pleasure to talk to you, to answer all these questions. I believe that this interview will be published on InnMind. I would send you also together with our team some of the links to the things that we've mentioned, so
Right.
that our audience, those who listen to this interview, would be able to make use of it. Thanks a lot. Wishing you also a great evening.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.